All right, let's move on then. Uh, Dave Jaffe, noted host at our live in-person meetings and keeper of the web, went to the Vintage Computer Festival, as is his wont. I'd like to point out that my T-shirt today says at the screen of the fabulous Oregon Trail game, "You have died of syntax error." So uh, this is in fact, this year's fabulous Vintage Computer Festival or Fair T-shirt. So I guess it's Vintage Computer Festival. One thing that I'd like to point out about the Vintage Computer Festival while Dave is madly fumbling, uh, we saw on sale or being given away. Actually, it was I guess it was a raffle for a ADM 3A uh, dumb terminal, which is in fact the former T-shirt logo from many years in the past of the self same Vintage Computer Festival. So it was good to see that being given away. Unfortunately, it looked like the CRT was bad and it was not functional. And replacement parts are hard to come by these days. You need to be a skilled glass blower and chemist and uh, all around crazy person to make your own CRTs. So Dave, hello Dave.
Yeah, I'm here. Let
Okay,
me,
you're up.
okay. Let's see if that works.
Your screen
Yeah.
sharing.
All right. From beginning. All right. Everybody see my screen?
We see your screen just fine. Vintage Computer Festival, August 4th.
Yes. Um, yeah, so that was the date that I went to the Computer History Museum and where they were hosting the Vintage Computer Festival, and that was almost 2 months ago. So I have to sort of pre-apologize because for two reasons. Number one, it's been a while since all the stuff was fresh and in person, and number two, I my strategy was to go around the room, early before a lot of people got there and just take pictures of things. So in many cases, I don't have a backstory for the pictures. So if people recognize anything that I don't, um, you're welcome to sort of jump in and describe what it is we're viewing. So the first thing is we saw Kevin and I saw an old buddy, Sam, who you may remember from many years ago. So it was good to see him at the festival. But let's move on. This is a guy that's been an exhibitor there before, and he has this mechanical analog system that takes up multiple tables and has things like integrators along here and a plotter and stuff like that. And it's just um, you know goes during the day and continues to plot and stuff. Very interesting to see. Um, I have no idea how one might program it, but um, still a computer. Yeah, it's huge. I have no idea how to take it apart and store it and move it here and put it back together. So it's like just a really elaborate system. Here's the plotter part. Again, all mechanical and analog. Right. Let's see. This, again, I'm sort of at a loss for what this is. Obviously, this is an old computer with some kind of uh, numeric keyboard input and speaker and stuff, but I don't have any details on
So
what
the
this is.
Kim
I can give you some. I can give you some detail. I
Go ahead.
exhibited that. That's an 1802.
Okay. Thank
It's a Netronics Netronics Elf.
Okay. Thanks for that information.
Yeah, and someone built this, and someone built it, and it really lovingly built, but it's a little dangerous to plug in. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Thanks again. Yeah, okay. The original Cosmic Elf from Popular Electronics. There's the a flyer for that. Again, I'm sort of at a loss what this is. So I'm just going to move on. Yeah, just other, really interesting stuff, cassette players, monitors, keyboards, computers, stuff like that. Here's a guy that's been at the fair for many years, and selling books. And this year was the first year I didn't find a fourth book among his um, inventory. So that was a little disappointing. Yeah, there they are again. Lots of old books, Mac, Windows, microcontrollers, all that kind of stuff.
They
Oh,
are the Friends of the Palo Alto Library.
thanks, Kevin. And here's Dwight Elvey, who was there, obviously. So he was helping manage part of the fair, the consignment room, which I'll have pictures of. All the stuff on, yeah, I think this is like free stuff along the wall here. Or maybe it was part of the consignment room that was outside the actual room. So a whole bunch of stuff, including old ribbons for printers. Yeah, here's other things. I think these are things for sale. Yeah, original Mac. Yeah, keyboard. Yeah, I should know what that is besides a terminal. I think
The
oh,
Silicon Graphics
yeah,
workstation is notable in that the biggest artifact of the Computer History Museum is the building that they are in, formerly occupied by Silicon Graphics.
that's exactly right. Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, this is an IBM PC, and I sort of recognize these 8-inch floppy disk drives. I think they were Persei drives. And the neat thing about them is it automatically loaded and ejected the floppy disk. So you stuck the disk in a little way and it just sucked it in the rest and locked it in. And when you ejected it, it would motorize itself out there. It was sort of cool, but expensive. Original PCs. Yeah. Yeah. This was pretty interesting for me because this is a resistor substitution box, and here's another one. And but I remember we had a whole set of these at where I worked before coming to Stanford. So those brought back some memories. Yeah, here's a closer picture of it. Yeah, these were actually pretty high power resistor substitution boxes, and you can dial in the resistance here, and there were several of these in different decades. There was one in ohms, or maybe one in tens of ohms, or hundreds of ohms, and thousands of ohms, and stuff like that. But I think there was a set of like 5 or 6 of these to make up all the resistances that you can think of. Tapes, lots of CDs. Looks like these were new ones. At PDP 8. front panel. Oh, and here's my feet. A bunch of
That PDP-8 was a replica PDP-8.
oh, okay, right. Yeah, my first mini computer that I programmed was a PDP-8 with the flip trips, and it had like 16K of 12-bit memory, and it had a paper tape reader and a teletype and stuff like that. So that sort of brought back a little bit of memories as well.
Same here. And one comment I'll make on that is that actually right behind the plastic panel is a wooden panel that has holes drilled for each one of those lights. And those lights are incandescent. And so tech guys would come out when something else was wrong, but they had leftover time. They'd go and start pulling out and replacing some of the dead incandescent bulbs.
Oh,
No,
okay. Thanks for that input, Bob. Mac.
I wanted to say, if I may, this company IET Labs is still making those Genrad 1433 decade boxes.
Okay. Okay. That's good. Max. Terminal looks like a bunch of hard disk, optical disks, floppy disks, zip drives. Makes you feel old, I guess. Dot matrix printer, Osborne computer, I remember those. Other computers, and I think this is all in the consignment room again. Apple II, more Apple IIs, lots of issues of servo and nuts and bolts. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good price, $25 for all of them. Yeah, zip drives, okay. And floppy disk drives and tape drives, more terminals, 8-inch floppy disk drive with WordStar version 3. And it just brought back the memories. IBM PCs.
Was that an 8 or a 5 1/4?
It looks like an 8 to me. Oh, I'm not sure. I am not sure. Yeah. Yeah, PC, more stuff. There's boards, whole variety of different boards, some IBM PC boards, some standalone boards, and I think there's some S100 boards and more, early laptop computers. There's a slide rule and calculator table. More monitors. Oh, this is an H19, and I built a bunch of these because we used them on my previous job. So again, more memories for me. PC boards. Yeah, S100 box and power supply. Another S100 box. Yeah, you notice, the early S100s all had, linear power supplies rather than the newer switched power supply boxes and stuff. So, yeah, I have an early Altair. That was my first one, and these are S100 boards. Data cartridges. And floppy disk. Okay, so these are 8-inch. So the floppy disk before was an 8-inch. I can tell. Yeah, more PCs. This is an interesting disk drive, floppy disk drive from DEC. 5 1/4, right? And interesting, it had a single actuator for the heads for both of the drives that was in the middle. So what you had to do when you inserted the drive is you had to orient, in this case, the label on top, and on the bottom, the label had to be toward the bottom. So they, it was like really weird. And I remember I had one of these for my H89, and I had to reconfigure the thing so that when one head moved on the A drive, it would also update, the track number on the B drive. Whereas if you had two separate floppy disks, they would obviously have two separate indicators for what track they were on. Yeah. Yeah, here's the sign-in booth. And here's T-shirt that Kevin had. There's a whole display of IBM ThinkPads. Core 64. Oh yeah, okay. So this was pretty, and they were around last year as well. So this is like core memory set up on this thing with a visualizer with a bunch of LEDs that visualize the state of each of the core memory bits. And so this is a kit that you can buy and play with it. It looks like this is terminal, maybe running CPM or something like that. Oh, okay. This is a guy with a Sphere display. And as you remember, Sphere was an early computer box. And the neat thing about it is it can accommodate different micro processors all at the same time in the same box. I didn't have one of these, so I didn't have that experience, but that was pretty clever at the time. Early Mac and Apple II computers. This is I think an IBM laptop with pop-up floppy disk drives. Well, this one says A and this one was C, so this might have been a hard disk drive actually. I think this looks like an Amiga. Is that right? I'm not sure. Apple II, Mac, lots of Macs.
In 2022 on Fourth Day, John Ribel gave a good talk about the Sphere One, so I recommend that to you.
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Obviously HP computer, other things, larger. Not sure what this is, but it's obviously has a Windows operating system. This may be a Silicon graphics machine. This might be a tape drive here. Early PET computer, and this is the early one with the chiclet keys and the built-in cassette recorder to store stuff in. Those were the good old days. I didn't have one of these myself. A later version of the PET had a more traditional keypad, if you recall. Okay. Other stuff. An Osborne with only one drive in it, and this was a little bit later version, but they still had, regular CRTs. It ran CPM. Is that right, or is this a Commodore? That's maybe a Commodore. Okay. Yeah, look at the logo.
Could be an SX64.
A what?
SX, I think the model name was SX64.
By Commodore?
I don't see any nameplate on it though that indicates that.
Okay. Yeah, here's a logo here that I can't make out. Could be a big C here, so I don't know. Yeah, here's one that's running. Yeah, this isn't this a Commodore logo?
It is.
All right, got something right. Yeah. So here's the Commodore PET with the other type of keyboard that I talked about. Here's an IMSI. It was an 8080 CPM based machine. And here's one that's I think this is like S100 an S100 box and you know, a terminal running all this. Yeah. Yep. Vector One was another manufacturer of S100 boxes. And yeah, looks like CPM here. Yeah, these are you know, keys and an early mouse and stuff, and oh yeah, this is a company that auctions off antique computer stuff. And so there's a letter here from Apple describing, you know, this might be an early prototype mouse and cord and key system here. Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, so if you can defocus your eyes, this is actually our two gloves that have these strain gauges on it to pick up finger flexion and to be used as an input device for computers. I don't know the details of this, but it looks interesting. Again, you know, linear power supply with the giant transformers and capacitors. Yeah, days of floppy disks. Yeah. Again, I'm at a loss to describe what you're looking at here. Obviously, deck stuff, PDP 8 slash. Oh, I can't read that. But this is a cartridge storage system, and if you remember these things, they stored, as I recall, and you can correct me, like 5 and 10 megabytes worth of stuff. Am I right on that? Okay, must be right. Nobody.
Is that a tape or disc cartridge?
It's a disk cartridge.
It may be an RK05. I don't really know.
So the 05 means 5 megabytes.
I don't know. I never used them.
Okay. But I think those were the capacities, and we had an early VAX at my previous job, and yeah, there was a bunch of people who had used these disk cartridges, you know, and it was they're basically, you know, their personal thing. If they wanted to run a program, they would grab one and, you know, put it in the computer and load it up and stuff like that. But I remember with the VAX, we actually had there was a much more advanced version of this that had maybe several platters and in the data cartridge that you put into the machine, and it was like the size of a like a washing machine, and it had the storage was at the time enormous, 1 gigabyte at the time. It was huge, the amount of storage and space that it needed to take up.
Yeah, the little PDP-11 on a VAX would have an RLO2 in some cases, which was a 10 megabyte cartridge drive.
Right. But it's hard to imagine, you know, you're you know, working with stuff like that. It's just like so totally different than, you know, the things that we do today and take for granted. So got to remember those times to know how easy we have it these days. Oh, this is a Lisa over here. And you know, these boxes, this must have been out in the sun because or just lighting, because the plastic turns this kind of color when exposed to light like that. Again, I'm not sure what kind of computer this is. Well, this is obviously an Apple computer, but in a strange kind of enclosure. Oh, a Mac, early Mac, modded Macintosh SE30. Windows machines, looks like Windows 95 running there. Oh, modems. And these, you know, with acoustic couplers again, you know, more memories, touch tone phone, you know, you ask a student nowadays if they've ever used a touch tone phone or a rotary dial phone, and they'll be scratching their heads.
This guy had a
telecommunications
PBX and
device
they were
for-
all connected.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Kevin. And there was some other conversation in the background.
I think those are TDDs.
Yeah, TDDs, you know, with the printer on them. Yeah. Yep, acoustic couplers. A little robot with a pen running around. Yeah, this is an interesting company. These are all like it's a company called Backbit Pro Computers. They're advertised as modern hardware for retro gaming, vintage computing, and repair. So these are adapter cables for using cartridges on different machines, and so they have just a whole bunch of them that you can buy. That's what those were. This is somebody using obviously a computer controlled weaving machine, loom. This is a Commodore machine, right?
Yeah.
Dynabyte, basic controller. So I think this was like a single board computer that had you can control with a keyboard. I'm not sure where the display was or how that worked. Yeah. Oh, this was these are our Z80 boards, you know, that were made currently that you can experiment with, and they were um, selling them there, and a cassette maybe as for storing programs. Yeah, and these are more Z80 based kits. You can so these have all the Z80 chipsets on them, which yeah, I've had a number of computers that had Z80, and I actually did some fourth program on Z80 chips and taking advantage of their unique interrupt style and so I was pretty familiar with the whole family of these kind of chips. Okay. Not sure what this is.
TRS-80, maybe?
Oh yeah, maybe this is
Computer.
Sorry, maybe Radio Shack Color computer.
Looks
Don't
like it.
know. Yeah, this is a interesting G4 Mac cube design, and they did it this way to really have airflow that goes through from the up through the bottom through the top, and there was a fan on here, so there was a reason for doing this, and so I remember that one of my colleagues had one of these. Yeah, HP 85. So this had a built-in BASIC, I believe, and a printer, and I think there was a tape mechanism in here. Yeah. Again, S100 machine. And I think this cable here is a network to another computer that they had networked together using CPM net. So that was sort of an interesting demo. Commodore 64s, a big one and a mini one. And that's it. So thank you for watching and listening. And again, I'm sort of sorry that I didn't have a perfect description of everything, but I hope you got the feel for the fair. And I'm always interested in seeing this stuff because, you know, for the only reason that it brings back memory of days gone by and stuff like that. You know, I got started in '75 when I saw the Altair described on Electronics Illustrated or Popular Electronics, and I said that's what I'm going to do. So all this stuff brings back memories of all the stuff that I've done over the years, and so that's why I enjoy going to the fair. So thank you for your attention. Back to you, Kevin.
Okay, I'm having issues here again. Okay. So that brings us to the exciting Christopher Lazinski. Chris, are you here?
I'm back. I have a Green Party meeting often at the same time from 10 to 11, but now I'm back. But I don't have a present demo for you, and the reason is I only have 3 USB cables, so I cannot, one for my keyboard, one for my mouse, and one for my camera, so I can't also show you the demo. I now have a 4th core running on the Pico Ice FPGA, so I need to get more USB ports out of my computer for next month's meeting.
Or do without your camera. As pleasant a person as you are to look at, we have our priorities after all.
Okay, give me a few minutes and I'll fire it up then. Move on to the next topic and come back to me.
I'm pleased to see it next month if you care to show it at that time.
Well, there'll be something else to show. I can
it'll
just take me, but it just takes me a minute or two. I'm uncomfortable. Everybody waiting for me. Do you have another topic on your agenda?
We're not going to wait for you. We're going to move on. Let us know when you're ready, and we'll come back to you. Okay.
Super. Thank you.
All right. So speaking of temerity, Don Golding has the temerity to not show up.
Are they both connected?
And here we are. He sent an email that he says, I am out at the property today, so won't be at the meeting. Board status. They were setting up to assemble the boards yesterday. We'll get them by Wednesday of next week. That may be optimistic, but who knows? Next meeting, I could give a demo of the board if I didn't make any unfixable mistakes. All right, he'll invite the wrath of the fates by making a statement like that. Okay. So that brings us The flipping papers, Rush Limbaugh style. All right. Now, does anyone have greetings, Andy? It's good to see you. I can't wave, the camera's off. Okay. How goes the exciting radio direction finding by phase detection?
Oh, can you hear me? My camera is on.
We can hear you. We can see you. We saw you wave.
Okay, well, it was supposed to be finished long ago, but well, now for 7 weeks I've been traveling Lebanon and Europe, and I fly home from Canada well, at the end of this month, the 29th. But anyway, I brought my Raspberry Pi with me, and I still debugging on my laptop using GeForce, and I tried a new idea, but I haven't got it to work yet, to run 4 parts of the FIR filter in 4 separate cores of the Raspberry Pi ARM processor. So I have not yet actually tried to do that, launch 4 tasks concurrently to see how well that works. But I think I can speed up by at least a factor of 3 and maybe get a even better filter running, longer filter. Right now it's 311 taps. So it really knocks out everything and get a very pure Doppler tone and very accurate bearings, fraction of a degree. Way better than the Ramsey Electronics DDF1. That RPi 3V is really super. Back to you.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube called Ringway Manchester or something like that that is talking about ham radio stuff and pirate radio and buzzers, and stations that are these numbers stations that are transmitting secret code messages to spies, even to this very day. And he was talking about this transmitter in Cuba, and I was thinking, oh, well, we should put Andy on a boat and send him down there. I bet you if we get him within 50 miles of the coast, we can figure out where exactly this numbers station is broadcasting from.
Oh, yeah, but Kevin, that's not how it's done. Now over the internet, there are these Kiwi, I think, and other names of networks of receiving stations that cross the line, cross the hyperbolas, and pin things down. They've been doing this for years. They actually have been identifying Iranian radars and stations in China and all over the place that are interfering with ham radio.
Luckily, they don't have any countermeasures with any teeth. Otherwise, I'm sure that the ham radio wrath would be a fearsome thing to have to deal with.
Oh, just one more comment about that. I don't want to tie up the meeting, but
You're not.
Anyway, the Germans, especially the German hams, are really uptight, and they keep calling their authorities, and their authorities call the other country, and nothing usually happens. What are you going to do? Nuke them?
I should certainly hope not. But if you're interested in giving us an update on 4th day, I'm sure we'd be pleased to hear it.
Yeah, I want to. One of these days, I just keep getting so busy with this project. I hardly play on my grand piano. I love to play Chopin, Beethoven, Schubert, and all that stuff. And I haven't been doing much of that lately. So, yeah, I've got to get back to that and wrap up this project already so I can go on to the next one.
So try to make it converge for November, and please keep in touch.
Maybe. Okay, I keep getting your emails, and I keep once in a while spend some time to look at what you guys are doing. It's great.
All right, so if anybody wasn't sure, we are now in the walk-ins, rambles, rumors, reminiscences.
Yeah, I can do a quick demo if you want.
Please,
Do I have permission to share?
you don't need it. Just hit the share button and see if it works.